This is Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles from Safe Harbor Retirement Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Corey provides his clients and prospects with the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is Financially Fit Radio with Corey Sickles.
Hello and welcome back to Financially Fit Radio. My name is Corey Sickles from Safe Harbor Retirement Group and Wealth Advisors. If you'd like more information about what you hear during our show today, just give us a call at 614-760-0670 or visit us online at safeharboroh.com. And while you're at our website, click on that radio page. You can check out past shows and subscribe to our program on Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Google Podcast, or Spotify. Also, feel free to visit our YouTube page by typing in Safe Harbor Retirement Group to watch videos on different financial topics. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have questions or if you want to set up a face-to-face or virtual meeting. And remember, all meetings are complimentary with no obligation. Well, today what I'd like to do is talk to you about traveling in retirement. You know, one of the things that I find when I actually start working with people to build their financial plan, when they retire, one of the first things they want to do is travel. So I thought we would, take a few minutes, just give you some key tips, about how, what's the best way to travel when you are in retirement. But before we kind of dive into that topic, let me introduce to you my co-host this week and every week, and that's Tony Shore. Tony, how are you today?
I am doing great, Corey. Thanks for having me on the show. And yeah, this sounds fun. I love to travel, and I know my wife and I are going to want to travel once we retire. So I'm excited about our show today. I'm going to be taking notes. This should be a fun one, but I've had a great week. Just did a lot. Got outside, went to a couple of grad parties. How about you?
It's there's a lot of graduation parties going on. I can tell you that.
My daughter's is in a week. So,
Yep, in a week.
Yep.
So, there's definitely a lot of graduations, whether it's high school, whether it's college. Definitely been attending a few of those over this last month, and it's for us. It's actually surprisingly a pretty busy time of the year still going on here in June. It's really hard to believe that 6 months has already gone by here in 2023, and we're in the middle of summer, and summer means travel, at least for people that are actually working. But what I kind of want to focus on more than anything, Tony, is because I hear this all the time. What do you want to do when you finally retire? And people are wanting to retire, earlier than they possibly can, and they'll always tell me, I want to do the 60s and early 70s, and I want to be able to spend some of this money and be able to travel and do things that I've always wanted to be able to do. So I think it's a good topic to kind of just talk about, just some tips more than anything about, what you really should be doing, as you plan for your travel in retirement.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that you need a plan in place, just like you need a plan for your finances. You're always talking about that. But when we travel, we like to plan out our trips. But there are things you can do in the planning stages of traveling to save money. And I like that. And maybe talk with your financial advisor about where you're at and how much you have to spend on traveling or some extra fun things, right?
Yeah, I think it's important to work with your advisor about that. When we started actually building a lot of financial plans for clients, I have a lot of clients that'll actually put travel into their monthly budget, knowing that they're going to spend X amount per year. They're not going to maybe spend it that month, but at least they're being able to take money out to save so they can go and do a trip that they want to do. And of course, there's going to be a variety of things that people want to do, right? Some people like to plan and go do things, and there's a lot of retirees that just love to do cruises.
Yeah.
Right. The cruise part's easy. You know, I mean, you know what you know where you're going to go. You know, you're going to have all your food. The only thing you have to pay for is the cruise and maybe possibly airfare, but you can also kind of bundle all that in together, and you can plan some of those things pretty easily, you know, a year out. But, you know, another way to be able to kind of plan for that, if you have it already in your budget, and that is do some of those last minute deals that cruise ships do offer in order, you know, to go see some of the sites in places that you do want to be able to go visit.
Sure. And that's another great point. And so people, it's funny because people always, everyone I know my age wants to travel, in the summer especially, right? If not permanently, once they're retired, to just keep traveling.
Oh, yes. I mean, that's the number one thing people want to be able to do.
Yeah.
And here's the one thing that I would recommend. So people say they want to travel. So let's just kind of talk about this if you're a retiree, right? So they do say you want to travel. So one of the things that I would highly recommend, and whether you want to do a Dave Letterman top 10 list, or maybe it's a top 20 list, but you should be able to put down the 10 places that you definitely want to be able to go visit, and probably put a priority on what those 10 places are. And maybe you always have a running 10. So, you know, maybe, you know, once you go on one, you add another one to the list. But I think you really kind of have to kind of plan on, you know, where you want to be able to go. I have some clients, Tony, that, you know, they're 5 or 10 years away from retirement, and they already kind of have their list planned out of where they want to be able to go travel, because I think that gives them a little bit of a motivation of, you know, when they do retire, these are the things that I'm going to want to go do, or these are the things that I'm going to go want to see.
Yeah, that's true. And you really want to plan that out. You know, I know so many people want to take their grandkids to Disney World once they retire. But you can't just do that. It's not that cheap to take the whole family to Disney World these days. So you want to make sure you're not pulling that money out of the wrong account too, right?
Well, that's exactly right. Especially if we start talking about going to Disney. That's no longer a $1,000 vacation, right?
Yeah.
Because I do have a lot of clients that all of a sudden, you know, hey, I want to take my grandkids to Disney. Yep. Well, you know, all of a sudden you're looking at $5,000 to $10,000 in order to go down to Disney, depending on how many grandkids you do have and how often,
at least,
or how long you're going to be able to stay, right? But I think that kind of leads to a point. You know, one of the things I really think people need to do is you really need to focus on your experience rather than the place that you're going. You know, you're going to Disney, but that's not the experience, right? The experience is you're being able to take your grandkids to Disney to have a good time and be able to spend time with them, as well as the family as well. Another one might be, you know, say you want to go to Germany. I'm just going to use Germany as an example here, right? But you might want to be able to tie your trip to when Oktoberfest is, to be able to go experience something that's unique in that particular country. So not only are you able to go in and be able to visit Germany, but now you can, now you'll be able to go experience one of the best, you know, probably things in Germany, and that's the Oktoberfest during that time frame.
Wow. Okay. So, you know, that's true. And I love the fact that we're talking about some trips that won't break the bank, and there are others that will, like we mentioned, Disney. So that's helpful too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's helpful. And of course, you know, you're going to have to kind of find, you know, some of these places that you want to be able to go visit. You know, I was actually, when I was kind of, you know, prepping for the show today, I was looking at, you know, there was a travel, one of the travel places, Travel and Advisor or something like that, or Trip Advisor, had something out there about talking about the 20 cheapest places to go visit in the U.S. So I think there's a lot of things that you can Google if you want to be able to have a cheap vacation in the United States and what to be able to go do. One thing I kind of found interesting for the summer part of it was, you know, Columbus was actually number 15 on the list to be able to go to, you know, one of the cities to actually be able to go see. So yeah, there's a lot of lists out there, but I do really think it's important to be able to, you know, try to figure out what that experience is. You know, a lot of people want to go to Italy, right? So, what are the two most common things that people want to do in Italy?
I want to see the Vatican, maybe, and
they want to get, they want to probably go eat and have wine.
Yeah,
and you can, you can probably do some type of tour where you can actually probably do a tour, Tony, where you can do, food, wine, and the Vatican all in one day.
Yeah.
So it's again, it's about the experience, not just being able to visit the city. And there's so many things that that I think a lot of people would like to be able to do. One of the things I might want to do at some point in time. I've never been to I've never been to like spring training for one of the major league baseball teams. I think that would be kind of a neat little experience. The nice part about that, it's usually in February. So you can go out to Arizona if you want to go out there and watch teams, or you can go down to Florida to be able to do that, make a little bit of a vacation out of that. But the nice part is you're also now having some type of experience that I've never done before as well.
Sure. And it's fun to try new things. At least I like doing that. I like seeing things I haven't before, trying new things. That's always a fun part of travel.
Oh, it is. And, another part that I think that a lot of people, I'm kind of amazed on how often I hear about this, where they go on some type of trip and they meet somebody that actually happens to live near them, or maybe even a different state. But now you kind of have travel buddies that you're actually going to be able to travel with. And they kind of schedule things because they had, a good experience with them on that. I see that more on cruises than anything else. Where they do spend time. Maybe it's because they're at the same table for dinner. The next thing you know, they're going on the same cruise together. But I think it also can be fun to be able to to have a travel buddy. Maybe you do have travel buddies that are your age, that are good friends of yours that you want to be able to do, and hopefully a lot of the goals are in line with you, right? You guys want to be able to go see and experience some of the same vacations, going forward as well.
Yeah, my grandparents were that way. They had a neighbor couple that they did a lot of things with, they were close. They grew up together and their farms were close to each other. And they ended up, after they all retired, they would drive out to Yellowstone and different national parks, the four of them together. They'd go camping, take the RV out. So I think that's fun, and that happens more and more, I think.
Oh, it does. But I think now if you have a travel buddy or some buddies, here's the big part about it is, hopefully your goals are in line, like I just described, but hopefully you're also flexible and to negotiate on where you're going to go and what you want to do.
Yeah.
But I think here's the most important part of it, right, is I think you have to be afraid to split up and say no on maybe a particular day or a particular afternoon or whatever you want to do. There's going to be some cases where you absolutely don't want to do whatever's maybe on the agenda that day.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with saying no and saying, you know what, won't you two go out and do that? We're going to go do something else, and we'll have dinner and we'll talk about whatever we experienced today.
Yeah.
But I think that'll be a lot more enjoyable. But you have to be able to say no on some of that stuff as well.
Yeah, if you try to all four or how many of you there are do the exact same thing all day every day, it's going to get annoying for some in the group. You're going to need time to split off. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. You definitely need, and it's good to just be able to have time alone, maybe, with you and your spouse as well, just to kind of go and do some of the things that you want to do. Because let's face it, if you have four of you, not all four of you want to be doing the same things at the same time.
Right.
So every day, on your particular trip. And I think another popular thing that's becoming, I hear this more and more is people want to go to a city. And it doesn't matter whether it's in the U.S. or it's abroad or whatever else, but they want to kind of live like a local, right? And because you want to try to be able to experience wherever city you're in, and you want to live like the local as much as possible. But in order to do that, I truly believe you have to do a little bit of research in order to find out the way that's actually going to end up, taking place, right? And of course, a good one to be able to do with that is to be able to experience some of the things. Well, one of the things that I was able to do, Tony, is Melissa, my wife and I actually went to Spain.
Oh, wow. Nice.
This is actually a trip we actually did with Grady in it as well.
Sure.
And one of the great experiences we had was we were actually over there when Spain was actually playing in the World Cup. And it was a World Cup round that we were able to actually go experience there. And it was actually the year that they ended up winning the World Cup. So this must have been around 2014, 2016, I don't know, somewhere around that time frame. But we actually went down to a local pub and watched the game there. And, it's not like I'm a huge soccer fan or football fan, whatever you want to be able to call that.
Yeah.
But it was actually pretty. It was actually a great experience just to be able to hear, all the cheering and the singing and everything else that they actually do when they actually watch a game. Yeah. So it's an experience that we're gonna be able to remember. We're in Barcelona for it. That I'll be able to remember for the longest time. And what we just kind of wanted to do that. We happened to be there, and we were able to go in and kind of act like a local and have a great time.
That's awesome. Yeah, see, that's what you're looking for, and a lot of people look for. I love that. And my neighbor Tom, he calls it. I remember we went to Key West once, and he said local knowledge. We found some of the non-tourist place that the locals go, and he calls it local knowledge. And if you can gain some local knowledge when you visit a place, whether it's overseas in Spain or whether it's a city here in the States, those are the fun places to find the local hangouts and see what the people where do the people in the town like to eat when they go out. I love finding those places because usually that's the best experience. Plus, especially if you're in a foreign country, you want to experience the culture there, right?
Oh, exactly right. One of the other things I found out is we actually were over in Italy one time and we were having dinner, and we were having dinner with another Italian.
Yes.
But we went into the restaurant. They brought us out the menu, and then he actually, the gentleman we were actually with, ended up speaking back in Italian to the waiter and said, "Bring out the other menu." So they actually had two menus. They had one for locals and they had one for tourists. And so at that point in time, we just told him to be able to order. You just go ahead and order what you think we should be able to get, so we could actually experience the local, cuisine.
That's funny.
In Italy.
That's funny. Well, yeah, I believe it, and that's the kind of thing you're looking for. It helps to go with somebody who speaks the language too. That helps. Today, you've been giving us some traveling tips, how to travel in retirement, some tips to make it more comfortable, things you might want to try or check out. So, and we've been covering the gamut from talking about traveling in Europe to saving money on local trips. What do you have for us next?
I think one of the biggest things, this kind of goes to, we were just talking about being a local or trying to, fit in like a local. And I think one of the things that's always good is to be able to actually possibly use like just a local tour guide. No matter where you're really going, even if you're traveling in the States, you probably can find a local tour guide to give you around it. Because I think there's going to be a few things they can do. One is they're going to probably know some of the local restaurants to be able to take you to some other, just like you said a minute ago, some of the off-beaten paths or non-tourist places in order to experience in that city that you're actually visiting. And then here's the nice part about it, is they can also give you maybe a walking tour or a driving tour of the city that you're actually visiting. Let's face it, one of the biggest things I think people want to do in any town they go into, and that is to experience that local food. And the only way to be able to figure that out truly is to be able to work with a local that's going to know where to go, really get the best of that particular food. You can pick any city that you want. They're going to have a local favorite that you want to be able to try. And that doesn't matter whether, again, you're in the U.S. or actually traveling abroad.
Yeah, I like that. Again, the local knowledge and a tour guide, not a bad idea. And not as part of these big tour groups, but find a local that, hey, can you drive us around, show us the sights? We'll give you 20 pounds or whatever it is, wherever you're at, right? So
exactly.
I like that idea too, Corey, and I think that's always fun. I had a guy in England. I'd gotten to know this taxi driver, and one of the old cabbies there when I visited London. And I was there for work, so I was by myself one day, and I'm like, can you just drive me around, or I want to go out to Abbey Road. Can you give me a deal? And he did a really good deal and showed me some sights, and then drove me out to Abbey Road, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to be able to do that, Tony. And I think another a nice little perk in some cases is if you can use local transportation as well, yes. Whether you're taking the subway or taking the buses. And one of the things that I found out, especially with a lot of these places or a lot of larger cities, is you can do these hop on, hop off bus rides, where it's going to drop you off on all the particular things that you're supposed to see in that particular city, yep. Right? So it's a great way to be able to see the city, see the sites that you want to be able to see. Again, you can hop off, in some of these particular cities. I don't know if I'd recommend if you're visiting Amsterdam, for example, to maybe bike around town or something like that. But I think doing some of those things from a local would be good as well.
Yeah. Amsterdam's a fun town to visit too. I had an extended layover there, so I went and checked out some of the sites. That was interesting. Flew there. The one time I was over in Europe. But you're right, and find maybe different cities. There's different ways to explore. Public transportation might be one of them. Make sure you ask around. You want safe transportation in the particular city. Like, is this a good city to bike in? That type of thing.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And we have a couple more minutes here, and I think here's the one part that I would probably also think about too, and this is probably one of the biggest ones, and that is I really think whenever you start traveling, you really need to have what we call a packing list of the things that you actually need to be able to do. The first time that we actually went over to Europe, we had the big suitcases, blah, blah, blah. We were training and we were doing busing and all that. But the thing is we had to lug that crap around. And it's heavy, it's big, it's bulky. And, one of the things that I was actually watching something on a Rick Steves show one time. So he actually has tours that you can actually do with him.
Oh, wow.
And one of the things that he was saying is everything's got to be, you only can bring on his tours basically a carry-on bag. That's it. Because he's going to have you do laundry and things in those other particular cities when you visit. And it's not a whole, you don't need a whole lot of you don't need a whole lot of clothes. So here's the point of it is we actually have a list of the things that we're going to be able to, bring on our trip. You just mark it off. And I think you're going to be able to pack more concise.
Yep.
And it's going to be a lot easier whatever city you're going to.
Exactly. Well, great show today, Corey. We're out of time. Give that phone number and contact info one more time.
Yeah, for our listeners out there, just give us a call at 614-760-0670, or you can visit us online at safeharboroh.com.
All right, and that does it for today's episode of Financially Fit Radio with our host, Corey Sickles.
Join us again soon for another episode of Financially Fit Radio.
Thank you for listening to Financially Fit Radio. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound income plan. For more information, contact Corey Sickles at Safe Harbor Retirement Group. Call 614-760-0670 or visit their website at financiallyfitoh.com. Corey Sickles and Safe Harbor Retirement Group are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. All matters discussed during this show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior prior to implementation.